Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. It's been a week, nearly 7 days that the dharna, the JUIF the JUIF protest has continued, and we've seen that there are attempts to actually negotiate with Maulana Sahab. We've seen Parvez Ilahi, we've seen Chaudhry Shujaat Hussain also. That committee tried to negotiate, but there has been no success. We've seen Maulana Sahab actually come out and say that he is now planning to move on to his plan B in the next 2 days. He's also announced that Siratul Nabi conference will be held in quite right here, and that means that of course they will be held till Sunday. So there doesn't seem to be any movement as far as the JUIF march is concerned. They're very much there, and we don't know for how long they're planning to stay. A lot of rumors surrounding the timing of the march itself and whether it's actually achieving the ends it hopes to achieve. What is the does the Maulana Sahab have an exit plan? We'll be talking about that. And what are the achievables as far as this march is concerned? What is he hoping to achieve? And although he insists on the resignation of the Prime Minister, which of course doesn't seem to ever even be on the cards, what is he actually angling for? Will he get what he's hoping for? We'll be talking about all of that today. I have with me Javed Jadoon, who's a political analyst. Thank you so much for being with us. Ehsan Hamid Durrani, who's a senior journalist. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Ji, Javed sir, we were earlier also talking about this. What do you think as far as the achievables are concerned? We've seen Maulana Sahab announce that he's here at least for the next 2 days. The movement, the negotiations are continuing as we speak. You know, we've seen, and you know, there are no two opinions about the fact how the Chaudhry brothers are thought to be very good at negotiating, very good at, you know, trying to calm any sort of movement, so to speak, but that hasn't worked. In your opinion, what kind of, you know, what kind of a plan does Maulana Sahab have when he talks about a plan B, a plan C, a plan D? What do you think?
Thank you very much, Maruk. I think we need to understand that Maulana mobilized his people from across the country, and it took him, I think, more than a month. It was a massive mobilization which required resources as well, which required planning as well, which required transportation, etc. So I think Maulana came to Islamabad with a definitive plan.
Right.
But what is strange is that he hasn't budged on his core demands. And the core demand is the resignation of the Prime Minister, democratically elected Prime Minister of Pakistan. Secondly, of course, when he talks about the dissolution of the parliament or dissolution of the National Assembly, that means he is not budging from his basic and core demands. I don't understand what kind of negotiations are being held when he is not relenting on his demands, and the government, of course, Prime Minister will never resign. So I don't see any converging points between the two sides. Though they are meeting regularly, it is good that political dialogue is continuing. But I think the dialogue must yield some results as well, which it is not doing at the moment.
But as far as we're concerned, we don't see, you know, the achievable insight as far as Maulana Sahab is concerned. Isn't that true? I mean, like you said, he's talking about the resignation, and that's all. There doesn't seem to be a minimum, or, you know, if he doesn't get that, what else, you know, will he be satisfied with? Do you think there are talks about that? Because nothing has come out.
I think Prime Minister very pragmatically stated that he would be willing to discuss all demands except resignation.
Right.
I think that was quite fair, and Maulana Sahab shouldn't be expecting the resignation of the sitting Prime Minister, and I think he should show some flexibility. The problem is he has brought a large number of people in Islamabad, and they have occupied a vantage point, and the city is partially paralyzed as well. Secondly, I think the two main political parties of Pakistan, Pakistan Muslim League and PPP, they were part of the initial march, but they ultimately decided not to become the part of the protest sit-in. And Maulana Sahab is talking about the joint strategy, while on the contrary, we don't hear anything from the two main political parties. We know that the main leadership of Pakistan Muslim League, now the former Prime Minister, is out of jail, and he is in his residence, and probably there is some talk he is going outside the country as well if the doctors, the panel of the doctors do suggest that. Secondly, I think the PPP is also asking for the same treatment.
Do you think it's part of that? I think, I mean, do you think there is a deal, so to speak? Of course, there are all sorts of rumors. You know, Maulana Sahab is fronting some sort of a deal. Do you think that's true?
I think, Maruk, it would be a little premature to talk about the deal. I think we should wait for another 3-4 days what really happens. If you remember, we were talking in these particular talk shows that the main political parties would not like to become part of a movement which can disrupt the political system in Pakistan, because these two political parties are the main stakeholders along with the ruling party. Maulana Sahab's party is not a real stakeholder in Pakistan's democratic project, because they have not been able to accept once they formed a government in KP. Other than that, I think they have always played a role of a coalition partner. But I think the two main opposition political parties, they have apprehensions that if you continue with the protest sit-in, it can destabilize the whole political system, and they would stand to lose as well, along with the ruling party. So I think they will never become part of any agitation which can destabilize the political system in Pakistan, and democratically elected government is pushed against the wall. I think the options you were talking about, what are the achievables? I think Maulana Sahab right now getting a lot of media attention, which he never got in the past. Every day we see talk shows are being held. Maulana Sahab is addressing the crowd every night, giving statements, and the two negotiating teams are meeting every day, and the tickers and all that, the breaking news, etc. I think he is at the center stage. He has got the floodlights on him, and he's enjoying that. I think that is why he has extended. Initially, he gave the 2 days deadline, and then all of a sudden he forgot about the deadline. Now he's talking about a plan B and C. Plan B, they haven't revealed yet, but one can speculate that they might go out of Islamabad and they create law and order situation in the provinces as well. But I think the most important question which you asked was, what are the achievables? Resignation, I don't believe, I think political commentator would agree that Prime Minister is going to resign. Secondly, the dissolution of the National Assembly, not happening. Pakistan Army spokesperson categorically stated that if the government doesn't invite Army for the security duties and other election-related duties, they would not come. So that demand, I think, is almost fulfilled as far as Maulana is concerned.
Let me go to Ehsan Sahab. I'll come back. What do you think are the achievables as far as Maulana Sahab is concerned? Right, you know, Javed Sahab is right. As far as the resignation is concerned, that doesn't seem to be an option. I don't think it will be one. We talk about the dissolution, that doesn't seem to be one. The army, of course, has stated what they have. Then what option does Maulana Sahab have? What is he hoping to achieve at this point? And what is it that's actually unachievable for him? Because these 2-3 things are not.
Yeah. So Maruk, let me get straight to the point. As Jadun Sahab has rightly said that, resignation is off the cards. Right. It's not happening, right? Neither is the dissolution of National Assembly, because neither will PMLN wants to leave their seat in Punjab, and nor will People Party wants to leave their seats and dissolve their government in Sindh. So that's not happening. So what's actually the end game of Maulana here? Maulana, after 2018 election, Maulana had become almost irrelevant on the political landscape of Pakistan. So his end game here is right now is to gain that relevance on the political landscape.
So even if so in that sense he has gained relevance.
Yes,
right,
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Yes. So what will he do with that relevance? He has seen the fate of the Prime Minister who was the former Prime Minister, the 3 times Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif. He has seen the fate of Asif Zardari. Maulana fears that same fate will happen to him. So this is why he's showing his strength. He's showing his power to the powers that be.
You're talking about the NAB cases against him?
Yeah. And his senior leadership of his party, right? So he's showing that strength and that street power to the powers that be, that, I'm a force to be reckoned with and I still have relevance. And I think he's shown that successfully. There are more than 30,000, 40,000 people in Islamabad right now. And although PMLN and People Party did not support in Maulana that much, but ANP he had the support of ANP in the
Right,
start.
Ehsan Saab, I'll come back to you. We have been joined by Senator Faisal Javed from the PTI. Ji, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Walaikum assalam. Thank you.
Senator Saab, what do you think? I mean, we've been discussing this JUIF march and we've been talking about the achievable as far as Maulana Saab is concerned. Certainly his demand as far as the resignation is concerned, as far as the dissolution of the assemblies are concerned, are clearly, not achievable. So, in your opinion, what is it that he hopes to gain from this march, other than relevance, which he seems to have gained by marching?
Well, from the day first, he was not clear in exactly what does he want. Because the entire this Azadi march, there was no objectives of it. There was no clear direction. And today he's stuck now. He doesn't really know what to do now. The only way forward could be that if he announces that he's going to do constructive opposition, wherever the government on issues goes wrong, opposition's job is to correct the government. And wherever government is doing good, opposition's job is to support the government. And this is how eventually you do good things for masses. So I think that's the only way forward. And this announcement will earn him some sort of respect as well. But he has completely failed in sort of convincing. Okay, here is this one question that he says the Prime Minister should resign. The question is, why should Prime Minister resign? So he doesn't have answer to this why. So that is where, he's stuck.
But Senator Faisal, I mean, do you think that he's mobilized all of these people to come out and become a part of constructive opposition or conduct a constructive opposition? That doesn't seem to go with the kind of speeches he's making. He's also saying that as far as he's definitely going to be here with the Siratul Nabi conference, which is on Sunday. So he doesn't seem to have any exit plan or strategy at this point.
Well, yeah, you're right. He doesn't have any plan. As far as people are concerned, I think he has not been able to sort of convince people. People didn't come out with him, general public. All the students from his madaris, they did come out. Of course, they had to listen to him. So he was able to only. That's why People's Party and PMLN, they failed big time in sort of attracting their own little support base that's left. Particularly, People's Party was unable to do that because people, for two reasons, they didn't join them. A, the ideology of People's Party has changed, and their little support base did not support them, and they didn't come out.
As far as the PMLN is concerned, there are a lot of rumors surrounding, the timing of this march. Of course, we know that the former Prime Minister has been unwell, and nobody's debating that. But the timing of both the things are, do you think, in your opinion, coincidental?
Well, I tell you what, the supporters wouldn't come out because they know, for a reason, matter of the fact is that these parties have been ruling Pakistan for past 30 years. So their own supporters would definitely ask them to show their report card, what have they been doing to this country for past 30 years. So that's the other problem for them, that they are unable to sort of convince people to come on roads. They tried once. Nawaz Sharif himself went on GT Road, but number wasn't really, he was again out to find two things. One was public, didn't find them. Second one was NRO, didn't get it. And this time around as well, all these people are together, the opposition parties, just seeking for that NRO, which is unlikely to happen.
As far as the former Prime Minister is concerned, considering his health, and that's a lot of the fact that it's being said that the doctors might suggest that he will have to be treated abroad. In that eventuality, wouldn't that fuel the NRO rumors again?
Well, not really, because he is sick, there's no doubt, and we do hope and pray for his health, his early recovery. Whatever medical board suggests, you will have to go with it, because you see, he's seriously sick, and there is no NRO happening at all. No way. Prime Minister has repeatedly, categorically said this, that there is no NRO happening. But historically speaking, these guys have been asking for NRO, they've been taking NROs, and they've been doing their politics on NRO.
But what about, we've been talking about this earlier on also. What about the fact that as far as the opposition is concerned, they want, as far as Maulana Sahib is concerned, there are a lot of cases against him, against his senior leadership of his own party. Do you think that this is a power show to sort of tell the government, tell the powers that be that, look, I have relevance, I have power, and therefore he doesn't want to have the same fate as the former Prime Minister and the former President, Asif Ali Zardari?
Well, I think we cannot mix these two things. You see, legal side is there, the political side. I think he has not been able to attract the general public. I mean, he only brought students from Madaris.
But as far
so the
as
street
numbers are
power-
concerned,
the
don't you
street
think he
power-
has significant numbers at this point, whether they're his followers or the public?
Sorry, what's your point?
At this point, don't you think that he's been able to mobilize a significant number of people, regardless whether they're his followers or the general public, as you're calling it?
Well, I think he has not been able to sort of register his street power. I mean,
Right.
okay, they are in good numbers, but not up to the expectation of there was sort of they've
So-
been talking about 15 million or 14 million or whatever the figure was. It's way down.
So even if they are, as you say, significant numbers, in that eventuality, if he does not choose to leave and the negotiations fail for another week, another 10 days, don't you think it would seriously hamper, as far as the movement of citizens in the country is concerned, and particularly in the capital is concerned, and cause a lot of problems for the general public? What's the plan that the government has? Because as far as the negotiations are concerned, they don't seem to be working with the Maulana Sahib.
I would just say that Kashmir was the major headline from Pakistan. It was at number one. In past 17 years of history, Kashmir, the first time the cause of Kashmir got internationalized. And the post-UN, all international media outlets and other international forums were talking about Kashmir. And this was debated for the first time in the past 50 years in the Foreign Affairs Committee of the U.S. And they talked about Kashmir and registered a protest against India. So, and also demanded lifting of the curfew. So Kashmir was the major headline, but Maulana Fazlur Rahman replaced it. Now major headline is Fazlur Rahman and Kashmir is so number one thing that didn't happen that was really bad was Maulana replacing Kashmir. And who would do that? Modi would want to do it. So number 8, this is and you
So
are
you're
right.
saying
Yes,
that,
the life
that
of
he has an
citizen.
international agenda.
Sorry.
You're saying that he has an international agenda against Pakistan.
Apparently, yes. It looks like that, and because there are no other clear demands. There's no clear narrative from his side. One day he would shift towards dhandli, like rigging. Next day he'll talk about economy. Then he also uses Islam card. So today he was talking about Kartarpur. So he is confused. He doesn't really know what does he want. So that's why we apparently it looks like that the only damage that he did is put the Kashmir issue at the back.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being with us. Javed Saab, let me go to Ehsan Saab and then I'll come back to you. Ehsan Saab, what do you think? Do you think that do you think there is an international agenda behind this march other than relevancy, which of course we've all agreed, and even Senator Faisal seems to think that he does want to become relevant. So there is that. But other than that, do you think that there is an international agenda to make Kashmir, perhaps put it on the back burner? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Senator Saab would put it that way because, he's PTI and, this is opposition. So, but I don't believe that, there is something international. And, as I've said earlier, that Maulana's end game or Maulana's major takeaway from this dharna is to become relevant, and show his strength to the powers that be, that he's a force to be reckoned with. But having said that, there's, I would like to deliberate upon the Kashmir argument. The Kashmir issue needs to be raised on the international forums, on international platforms. It need not to be raised in Pakistan. Pakistan has been, highlighting Kashmir issue for the past 70 years inside Pakistan. Now is the time to have some robust foreign policy complemented with robust diplomacy and raise Kashmir issue on international front. So I don't think this argument hold valid, and Kashmir is not diluted by the Maulana's dharna.
But to be fair, of course, the media involvement as far as Kashmir is concerned has, if not deviated, diverted a little as far as
but that's media responsibility. That's media's responsibility. You have to give airtime to the issues equally. You can see BBC and CNN doing that, on issues that are vital to the US or British national interest.
But of course he is taking some airtime. I mean, because he's become relevant. So there is that argument that of course he's become relevant by this March. But as far as his exit plan is concerned, do you think that he has one? Do you think he is talking about plan B, C and D? What kind of a plan B do you think he has, and is it something, of course, that the government is ready for, in your opinion?
I think so far he has stick to his guns. He's not backing off from the demand of PM's resignation. But ultimately, because that's not happening, even Maulana and his leadership knows, and even his followers knows, that's not happening. I think what I'm seeing is that some sort of arrangement, because in the last 72 hours, 4 meetings have been held between Maulana and the Chaudhry brothers.
Do you think that he will make headway?
Yeah, I think some sort of face saving, some sort of exit way will be given to Maulana, so he can convince his followers. Because one thing we have to be mindful of, that Maulana's workers are not here because of the political grounds. They have been mobilized on the religious grounds. If you happen to see the interviews which have been circulated on social media, the media interviews of their political workers, so when they are asked that why you're in Islamabad, so their argument is not political one, it's a religious one. So some sort of exit way or face saving will be given to Maulana. If it can be a political one or a religious one, we cannot say that for sure at this stage, but some sort of face saving will be given to Maulana, and Maulana will not go empty-handed. Yeah. But
let me go to Javed Saab. Javed Saab, as far as these rumors are concerned, we asked Faisal Saab, the Senator Faisal also, and he said no, there can't be any deal, of course. In your opinion, do you think the timing of the fact that, of course, right now the former Prime Minister is at home, and we've seen, of course, the former President also, we've seen the PPP talk about it, that perhaps there has to be a uniform treatment. Do you think that Maulana Saab has something to do with that, or that's totally independent in your opinion?
I think, of course, it did have the kind of impact which Pakistan Muslim League wanted, because government has come down from the high pedestal. They are on the defensive right now. They never thought that Maulana would be able to bring out such a large number of people. Senator Faisal Javed admitted that it's a significant number of people, and you are very right in pointing out whether these people are the followers of Maulana or the common people. But the large number of people are in Islamabad, and they are posing a serious problem for the government right now. I think that's a reality. And government, I think, is required to understand that the onus is right now on the government, because government is the major stakeholder in the system. They need to divert their attention from this protest sit-in after resolving the issue towards so many important issues. Today we see that every minister, almost every minister, is talking about the protest sit-in and Maulana Saab's agenda, whatever they believe is the agenda. I don't agree that there is some kind of international conspiracy against the Kashmir cause. Maulana, I think he had announced this much before the Kashmir situation evolved. And secondly, I think the joint opposition, they have got the common agenda, though they are not supporting the way they would have supported Maulana, but I think they share the common objectives to weaken the government so they can get some benefit out of it. I think Muslim League has already got that.
What about
and
the talks
in the coming
against
days, Maruf, I believe I think even President Zardari would be able to get the same kind of concessions which
So what will happen to
PMLN has
the
got.
narrative of accountability then?
I think narrative of accountability has literally evaporated. We have seen in the recent past that the federal secretaries met the Prime Minister and they talked about the difficult situation which has been created for the bureaucracy, and they are unable to perform their duties and delivering the services they would like to deliver. And I think government might even go for some kind of ordinance and change certain clauses of the NAB. What is happening on the ground right now, Maarukh, is important to understand. Maulana Sahab has got the limelight, whether the government likes it or not. I think he admitted that Maulana has become the news. Senator Faisal Javed said that he has grabbed the headlines.
Of course,
So when you grab the headlines, you become an important person in Pakistan. So why should he go without achieving a single objective? Let alone, we are not talking about the resignation,
But
we are
even
not
if
talking
he-
about the dissolution.
Right, but even if he dents that narrative of
Yes.
accountability or damages it significantly, he
And
will have achieved
damages the
a lot.
government as well.
Right.
Because we have seen in the past when Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf staged its protest sit-in in Islamabad, I think it really weakened Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's government to the extent that he was not able to survive for a long time of period. And even today, why? For so many factors. Because as I've been pointing out in the previous talk shows as well, that government's focus is shifted towards the protests from this basic agenda of delivering whatever promises they made to the people of Pakistan. We understand economy is in a difficult territory, inflation is high, unemployment is definitely there, and direct investment is not coming. Though there are certain positive indicators as well, government is trying its level best to do whatever they can do.
Right.
But in the as you said at the outset, in the last 7 days,
Right,
government
of course.
focus has entirely shifted towards Maulana. So I think this is damaging for the government itself. They need to go forward. Though I think Prime Minister has been able to make some concessions, even it was quite humane on his part to talk about the difficulties the,
Right, the
protesters
protesters are
were
facing
facing
in the
during
rain, yes.
very
I'm going to-
severe and harsh weather.
I'm going to go
And-
to Ehsan Saab. I'll come back to you. Ehsan Saab, as far as, we're talking, like Javed Saab is mentioning, that of course there is the opposition, whether they go, full throttle with Maulana Saab or not, as far as the PPP and the PMLN is concerned, they are supporting his agenda. There's also talks about the Deputy Speaker's no confidence. Do you think that, if that happens, there's all this movement against the ordinances that, of course, the government is using at this time, instead of passing laws? In your opinion, do you think all of this, of course, will it damage the government? Even if Maulana Saab eventually, of course, comes to a concession and leaves irrevocably, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's damaging the government right now at this stage. It's a weak government, so to speak. It has, it has just a margin of votes in the National Assembly to get the majority. So it is damaging the government, and but we have up till now we haven't seen the full extent of support from PMLN. They have adopted the strategy of to wait and see. But there is a serious lack of agreement in PMLN as well. Like Shehbaz Sharif is not in the favor of confronting the government and the powers that be. So he's not in the favor. And of course, the Maryam Nawaz Sharif group is in a favor of full throttle attack.
Right.
And same is the case with People Party. So this is one dynamic of it. As for the government, I mean the focus has shifted from economy, from reforms, from governance to the dharna, and I think it will be a sort of face saving for the government as well. You will be seeing a lot of statements after post-dharna, in the post-dharna scenario of ministers, PTI ministers estimating the billions of losses to the economy during these dharna phases, and the purpose that the dharna has served in putting the economy on the back burner, putting the Kashmir issue on the back burner. So you'll be seeing a lot of statements. But as of now, yes, it is hurting the government. And you have seen recently that the tone and the rhetoric of Prime Minister has transitioned from Maulana Diesel to Maulana Fazlur Rahman. And in his recent tweets, and also the DGISPR has termed him a sensible and serious politician. So I think the rhetoric is toning down, and the government at the start was not taking Maulana
They want
seriously.
to placate him now and come to some sort of an agreement.
Yeah, they were not taking him seriously at the start, but now that the Dharna participants have survived the cold weather, the chilly weather of Islamabad, I mean, the resolve is high, of course. This demonstrates a high resolve. So I mean, the rhetoric from the government side has toned down, and it should tone down. I mean, there should be some amicable solution to this,
Right.
and both the parties should come together for an amicable solution. Yeah.
But even if they come to an amicable solution, Javed sir, my question is, even if they do come to an amicable solution, which is what I wanted Ehsan Saab also to answer, there is, going to be some damage to the government, regardless of whether they do come to an agreement and eventually Maulana Saab leaves. Isn't that true? I mean, and it's going to be collective, because if this no confidence motion, do you think it'll pass through? As far as the Deputy Speaker is concerned, all of this?
No confidence motion would be a bit premature to talk about that. But I think your first part of your question is whether the government has learnt a lesson or not. I think government, the statements coming from different ministers, I would certainly sort of label them as not very responsible statements, because I think I would agree with this notion that the main sufferer is the government, not the opposition, because Maulana Sahab has nothing to lose.
Exactly.
The party which is going to lose is the ruling party.
Right.
And I think Prime Minister trying to sort of come to a practical point where he could strike a deal, certain deal with Maulana Sahab. And Maulana Sahab does realize that the government is weakening now, and government is showing signs of weakness. So he has hardened his stance. Another reason for his hardened stance is probably he was looking at the weather conditions, and probably was looking for certain signs that the marchers might start leaving out of the capital, which didn't happen. So all of a sudden we see a new resolve in Maulana Sahab. He has talked about staying in the capital for another couple of days, and then Seetul Nabi conference to be held in Islamabad at the same venue, same place on Sunday. And I think on Sunday he might announce his second phase of protest. So in my opinion, he's playing with the negotiating teams. He is not relenting in his demands, but he's continuing the negotiations as well. So why is doing that? I think he is loving the kind of a glare he has got, the kind of attention from the media. He has become a news. Even the international media is talking about the ongoing protests in Islamabad. And I think government has been forced into the trap which Maulana laid for them. They believe that they're winning, but in fact Maulana is winning. Though, having said that, Maruf, I think it is important to note that any kind of demonstration demonstrators who come to Islamabad asking for the resignation of the Prime Minister is absolutely unjustifiable. Government in 13th or 14th month in power, I think it is not a sufficient time to judge the performance of any government in 1 year's time period. Maulana Sahab, I think Maulana Sahab saw the opportunity, he grabbed it. And now I think it's entirely up to the government, the ruling party, to understand what Maulana Sahab does want. Ultimately, I think they will have to give in to certain demands which have not been made public. There could be certain demands, though some demands have been made public. But behind the scenes, I think, Maruf, we do understand a lot is going on. Maulana Sahab's body language is very confident. He doesn't seem to be a person who is at the verge of exit from Islamabad. He has made his plans very clear that he's going to stay in Islamabad another couple of days. And then I think the second phase or third phase he's going to announce. So
What
I think
about
what is
the
important for
narrative?
the government right now, I think they summoned the session of the
National Assembly and
a
the
bit
Senate,
late,
of course.
Maruf, a bit late. They should have done it much earlier, because you provide a platform to the opposition, right? Whatever happened today in the National Assembly, it is part of the democratic process. Let the opposition vent its anger at the floor of the parliament. They should have done it much earlier. And even now, I think they should let the opposition to talk about their grievances. And the electoral, I think, reforms are very, very important right now. The government should come forward without any pressure from the opposition. I think they should take the lead and introduce the electoral reforms in the parliament, so that every political party will have no justification to talk about any kind of rigging in the future elections. Whatever has happened in the past has happened. So Maulana Sahab should let the government complete its tenure.
But the point is then that focus should not shift from reform, agenda of reform, of economy.
Absolutely.
Isn't that true, essence of?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't shift, but as I said earlier, it will shift. And, you know, the blame will come on Maulana. And the PTI government will try to blame Maulana for the lapses in the governance, for the lapses in economy, in a struggling economy. I mean, yeah, this this angle will be spinned by PTI.
But regardless of that, what about the? I mean, I keep coming to this, and I think it's very important because it's something that this government has been very clear about. That their accountability, their narrative of accountability. If they lose that or compromise on that narrative of accountability, then what will they have left to fall back on? As far as their achievement is concerned, as far as their deliverable is concerned. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the way we are seeing things, yes, the mantra of accountability has diluted.
But it has already been compromised.
Yeah, it has been compromised, it has been diluted.
But we have the Prime Minister coming again and again saying that there will not be a compromise.
That's just a rhetoric. But
it's a political rhetoric because PTI has came into power with this mantra, with this rhetoric, and they will keep pushing it. But I mean, yeah, but in reality, it has been diluted. Businessmen have, you know, the business community has showed its grievances. They met the army chief, and they have been promised that they will be given the leeway.
The traders?
The traders, they have their reservations. I mean, we have to admit that Pakistan is a hard country to govern, and you know the classification and the governance structure, the structure of the society, it's very complex, and the way PTI put it in their political campaigns, it was very simple. And when they came to power, there was not enough homework in place. So, but at rhetoric level, yes, these things will exist, but in reality, the mantra of accountability, it will be compromised. Yes.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us today, Javed Jadoon Saab. Thank you for your time. SN Hamid Durrani Saab, thank you for joining us today. As far as the march is concerned, whether it achieves all the deliverables that Maulana Saab have set for them, which seems unlikely, he has succeeded in making himself relevant. There's no two ways about it. But at this time, it's important to remember that for the country, what's important is economy. What's important is our agenda as far as foreign policy is concerned, as far as our issue, our stance on Kashmir is concerned. We cannot compromise on these issues, and that is what should remain first and foremost. As far as the governance issue of governance is concerned, as far as reform is concerned, which is what the government promised and which is what they have been trying to make efforts to do, and that should remain at the top of their agenda regardless of the protests that take place. Let's hope that it can do that. Let's hope that the focus can remain consistent and on the issues that actually need to be addressed. Let's wait for what happens in the next few days. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.